Welcome, welcome everyone to District 33's Early Bird Club Officer Training. It's wonderful to see all of you here tonight. We have over 100 people online. Isn't that awesome? We have a fabulous training program for you this evening. We have great speakers. To kick us off for our meeting this evening, I'd like to introduce our current District 33 Program Quality Director, District 33 District Director-elect, Distinguished Toastmaster, Tan Pham. Tan.
Thank you very much, Gail. Good evening. I was born in 81. I was a year of the rooster, and here we are, early bird training. Thank you for joining us for our very first COT early bird training of the year. And the procedure is, if you attend tonight, you will get club officer training credit for the round one. And you can get it for any or all of your club officer roles, whether you're in District 33. If you're not in District 33, please contact me and I will coordinate with your respective program quality director for training. Okay, so that is the procedure for club officer training credit. The next thing I'd like to do is introduce our District 33 Director, Distinguished Toastmaster, Deborah A. Allman, as she has a welcome message for us as the District Director. Debbie.
I'm going to applaud for you guys. Thank you for spending your time here tonight. This is going to give you such a great head start for the turnover, which will be July 1st, 2023, when you take office. I'm so excited to meet more of you. I have a little story. I want to tell you what I've learned and what we need to apply to the last few days of this year. I play a game called tennis, and I found myself at a score. I'll tell you the score for those of you that play tennis. I know Ada does. It was love 6, love 5, love 40. What that meant to those of you who don't play tennis is I had one point. I had to win 1 point and then another. I had to win 4 or 5 points in a row or I was done, basically. I was actually 1 point and I'm done with the match. And many people would just say, oh, I'll just go ahead. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to lose this point and I'll play another match another time. For some reason, I just got this in my head that, okay, I'm going to move just imagine that the lines of the courts were a little bit closer inside, move the baseline a couple feet from the baseline and hit to a smaller space that would give me more of a buffer so I wouldn't miss. And dang it, you know what happened? I won the match. It was the most amazing lesson I've ever learned. And I want to apply that to the end of this year. Many of you have clubs that maybe need 3 more new members. They might need a couple educational awards. And you've decided, well, we'll just do it next year. We'll just work on it next year. I want to challenge you to just dig into that ground and decide I'm going to do it this year. And guys, we have already met 2 of the milestones for all the work that we've done with gaining members and submitting our saving the clubs that people wanted to close. We've added numerous new clubs. We are, I'd say, about 40 distinguished clubs short of being President's Distinguished District. That is an amazing feat. If you think about it, that pandemic is now in our rear view mirror. We've accomplished what we've needed. We still have a little bit more to go, and I want to encourage you to just do it. Let's do it together as a team and just fire up. Back to you, Mr. District Director-elect.
Thank you very much. What an encouraging words. It's been an exciting year, and I hope that we will carry it on next year. I'm going to now take a little bit of time, just a couple of minutes, to recognize our current district officers and current visiting district officers. If your names are highlighted, and I request everybody to hold their applause until the end. The names in blue are the names of people that have registered for tonight. So if I missed you, I apologize, and please type in the chat if I forget your name. Here tonight, again, hold your applause. Distinguished Toastmaster Deborah A. Allman. Registered for Public Relations Manager this year, past District Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Flora Turner. Logistics Manager, Distinguished Toastmaster Greg Morrow. Parliamentarian, Area E3 Director, past District Governor, Distinguished Toastmaster Katie Porter. Immediate past District Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Clarice Kresser. Division B Director, Motivational Strategies 3, Ryan Voitila. Division C Director, Team Collaboration 5, Michelle Reed. Division G Director, Presentation Mastery 5, Andy Alas. And to our area directors, Area A2 Director, Innovative Planning 4, Brittany Brim. Area A6 Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Dr. Angelina Dickey. Area B3 Director, Innovative Planning 3, Grisela Sancho. Area C3 Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Eda Balvalacqua. Continue with the area directors, Area E1 Director, Leadership Development 3, Patricia Folk. Area F3 Director, Visionary Communication 3, Ryan Osterero. Area G3 Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Michael Rankin. We have some visitors that registered. I'd like to welcome from District 26, she's not a past district director. She's the Program Quality Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Ann Hill. That's a typo here. And then our within District 33, past district governors and past district directors, Flora Turner, past district director, Distinguished Toastmaster Tim Mullins, past district governor, Distinguished Toastmaster Brenda O'Brien, and past district governor, Distinguished Toastmaster Dennis Ham. These are our District 33 past district governors. And visiting from District 4 is past district governor Tony DeLone. Did I miss anybody for the acknowledgements of dignitaries?
Now we clap, right?
Now you can please unmute and clap. Welcome. Thank you so much. All right. They helped build the foundation, but for tonight, we had some key people. We have 2 club officer chairs. It is Distinguished Toastmaster Angelina Dickey and Distinguished Toastmaster Roxy Patterson. They are our club officer co-chairs. And with the hand raised is our timer. So she's not asking questions. She is our timer. Please welcome Caroline Moore. She's our timer. I'd now like to return conduct back to Toastmaster of the evening, Gail Taylor-Smith.
Thank you, Tan. It's now time for our pledge. For our Pledge of Allegiance, please welcome Denise Shipper, Persuasive Influence Level 5 and Strategic Relationships Level 3.
Thank you. I don't have a flag. Does anyone have one handy?
I do, if you just give me a few seconds.
That would be great. I put one on my phone just in case, but that would be better.
Actually, I apologize. I don't, because I'm on the district account and not my own personal one. But Tim Mullins.
Tim is ready. Thanks, Tim.
I have one up.
Thank you so much. All right, please put your right hand over your heart. And you may mute yourself if you like or not. Either way is fine. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. And back to you.
Thank you, Denise. Please welcome Annie Hall, Distinguished Toastmaster, to provide our club and district mission statements.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. First, the Toastmaster International mission is we empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. Our district mission is we build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. The mission of our member clubs, we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Annie. It is now time for the training portion of our program. To start our training this evening, our next speaker has been a teacher, coach, mentor, foster parent, singer, mathematician, award-winning speaker, and author, volunteer leader, and a Toastmaster for over 30 years. Today, she will speak about the 4 core values of Toastmasters and how they may impact your life. The title of her speech is Rise to the Opportunity, which was her theme as district governor. Please join me in welcoming past distinguished district governor, distinguished Toastmaster, Katie Porter, with her speech, Rise to the Opportunity.
Hello, everyone. So nice to see the smiling faces and having some opportunity to have officer training right off the bat, even before July 1st. I think this is a great idea. And by the way, Tam, thank you for the backgrounds with the cute early birds on them. That'll be really fun to use in other times as well. I have some slides to share. Let's see if we already have that set up. Otherwise, I will ask the, let's see. Nope. Let's see. I know I can do this. Share the slides, which are where? Okay, 1 second. I think you have to have the slides up front on your
Yeah, you have to have it actually open.
open.
And then when
Okay,
you
very
click on
good.
it, it should be an option.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. 1 second. Meanwhile, I'll tell you about the Rise to the Opportunity, a quick story. So I made this up, right? It's usually Rise to the Occasion. I think everybody's heard that, right? Rise to the Occasion. And I thought, no, we want to rise to the opportunity. So right now I'm looking for my slides. Here we go. My computer had some issues, so that's probably what's going on here. So I'm sitting in my seat and I'm about to speak to the whole district and share with them my new slogan, which nobody knows yet, right? And in my mind, I'm going, don't say occasion, don't say occasion, don't say occasion. It's rise to the opportunity. And I was successful. I did use the right term. And throughout the year, it became easier and easier to, okay, so now I got my slides up. It became easier and easier to get that right. So tonight we'll revisit that. Nope, wrong spot. Wrong spot. I can do this. Share. There it is, yay. All right, now we're good. We're good to go. So Rise to the Opportunity is something that is unique to our District 33. And throughout that whole year, we used Rise to the Opportunity, and we included hot air balloons. We also included biplanes, but the one that really stuck with me was the hot air balloons. Take a ride in a hot air balloon and advertise Toastmasters. Drop leaflets, right? Today we'll do club officer training and talk about the core values, which spell RISE, R-I-S-E, respect, integrity, service, and excellence. For your training as an officer, I want everybody to know that online you can get the Club Officer Handbook, Club Leader, it's called Club Leadership Handbook online. And I pulled a page from it. I just pulled a table of contents page that shows each of the offices. I know you can't read it, that's fine. Just to show what it looks like when you open it, crack it open and you see, oh, there's my office right there. I'll find out more about it. So I just wanted everybody to know that that's available for free download from TI. Our agenda today is, oh, you know, I could actually do this as a slideshow, huh? Slideshow. Slide. Woohoo! So this is the agenda, an introduction, talking about RISE, talking about opportunities, and then having some questions. So it's a fairly straightforward agenda. First, a little introduction. This is me in my cute hat. I'll put my cute hat on. My boyfriend gave me this nice hat and he said, oh, you should always wear that hat. And I thought, well, I don't know if I always want to wear the hat, but it is a fun thing to do once in a while. So I'll wear my hat. Are we ready for officer training? That's why you came tonight. We're going to have a lot of wonderful information for you, but my half hour includes the officer training that gives you a check mark that you have gotten your officer training. And the Club Leadership Handbook is number 1310, if that helps you to find it. What are the core values? Why? We're going to go over those. And I'm going to do a mashup to make it a little more interesting. We're going to mash up the core values and the various offices. Oh, mashup, how's that going to work? Well, first let's find out what the core values are. We have some definitions. And I looked up all these definitions and honestly, there was nothing too shocking about the definitions. I think every one of you could come up with the definitions. For example, respect, due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others. Integrity, the quality of being honest, having strong moral principles, morally upright. That's cool. Service, doing work for someone, the act of assistance, and also the act of helping. And finally, excellence, the quality of being outstanding or extremely good. From the verb surpass, which is Latin. So when we're having excellence in our work, it surpasses our normal. We're always striving for excellence. RISE, those are the core values of Toastmasters: respect, integrity, service, and excellence. Now we're going to look at the offices and see if we can match them up with some of the core values. And we say, well, what about that word opportunities? When I was district governor, I didn't really spend that much time filling out opportunity, but I'd like to do that a little bit today. There are opportunities for you, for your members, for your club or clubs, and for your district. And as you go through this presentation and you're thinking about your offices, go ahead and say, I hadn't thought about that as an opportunity. Maybe that's something I could do. Maybe that's something my club could do. Maybe we could have a hat day inspired by Joseph Skoda. Let's start out with the first of the core values, which is respect. And I selected 2 of the offices to specifically focus on respect. Now, you might have a different design, that's perfectly fine. I just wanted to do a little, I like the term mashup, a little mash, so that we took an office and a core value and we put them together. So the vice president membership and the vice president public relations are both dealing with the public and also dealing with members. And what a great place to ramp up your respect. Now let's see what the vice president membership is responsible for. Welcoming guests, providing both guest packets and member packets, providing training, helping members to meet goals, and sharing pathways news. As we get information about pathways, it's good to have somebody forward that to the club. Our vice president of public relations is responsible for inviting the public, providing content for Facebook, Instagram, website, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to do a TikTok dance with your club, by all means, go for it. Also, the vice president of PR reminds the members that all members advertise the club. All members are working in public relations. And you might consider business cards. I had a club in San Diego called Laugh Masters, which is such a cute title, Laugh Masters. At Laugh Masters, their unique thing was that every single member told a joke at the beginning of the meeting. Every member. They had a joke jar. If you didn't bring a joke, no problem. You reach in the joke jar and pull out some old chestnut. That was unique to the club. Another thing they did is they had business cards that any member could take that said the name of the club, when it met, and where it met. Any member could just grab some cards and pass them to friends and write on the back, I'd love to have you come to X meeting, to this meeting on such and such date. So I thought that was a cool thing that they did. So what are opportunities to increase respect as the vice president membership and the vice president of PR? And I would like to suggest, is the chat available for folks? Chat
Yes,
should
it
be
is.
open so that in the chat, if you have a thought about how to increase respect of the member and respect of the public as vice president membership or vice president PR, go ahead and just put a little note in the chat. Oh, Kevin Daly, welcome. I'm sorry you're not on the chat list. Don't know about that. Lead by example. When I reach out, ask them what is a good time for them to call. That's a great one. Rather than just barging in on their life, just say, is this a good time to talk? That's nice. Be authentic. Yep. Acknowledge accomplishments. Wonderful. And invite coworkers. Fantastic. And invite them respectfully and thinking about their growth and what they can get out of Toastmasters. Wonderful. All right. Thank you. Next, let me see, a participant, there's something going on. Now, do you guys see something black at the top of my screen, or do you just see the regular screen?
Looks fine.
Okay, good, fantastic. So the second of the 4 core values is integrity. I thought this was a cool little picture of integrity where it has ethics, accountability, etc. And I just picked one of the officer roles to match up with integrity, even though every single member, of course, wants to have high integrity. But the treasurer is responsible for maintaining funds, communicating financial health to the club, collecting dues, or assisting with the club members to pay their dues online now, and then monitoring it, right? Even if you say, oh, just do it online, you can't just walk away. You have to make sure that it's done. Once a year, we submit a postcard to the IRS. We just did that in May. And then finally, funding TI orders. Most clubs vote on what they want to order from Toastmasters and then get a check from the treasurer to pay for it. So opportunities to increase integrity as the treasurer. What things could the treasurer do to leverage up their integrity and the club's integrity? And let's go ahead and do a little moment in the chat. So that's a terrific one, Anthony. Thank you for that. So keeping a public record of the accounts and having an audit assistant, which is cool. So just a little cross check there. I think that's a very good idea, especially if you have a treasurer for years and years and years, which happens in some clubs. It's really not fair that they do that in a vacuum. It's good to have someone working with them. So don't just order things the treasurer feels like. That's a good point. Go ahead and make sure it's a consensus of the club. That's what Debbie says. And ensure the accuracy of all filings. It's a wonderful thing to have somebody else in the club who understands finances that you can bounce things off of to try and do absolutely the best report possible. And the last is create reports on a regular basis so you can report to the club as part of the business meeting how things are going with the treasury. Thank you very much. All the members should know approximately how the club is doing. The third of the 4 core values is service.
In the, oh, your Ben and Jerry's is down there, yeah.
And I'll have Ben and Jerry's too. Thank you. The secretary and the sergeant at arms both have a lot of service involved in their assignments, their officer positions. So I thought, well, let's take a look at the core value of service and see what the secretary is responsible for. Taking and communicating minutes, maintaining history of the club, and sending correspondence. Sometimes the club wants to thank a speaker, for example, and the secretary would be the one to create a nice little card or have something to give the speaker when they're there. The secretary could do that. The sergeant at arms similarly has a lot of service in their position. They maintain supplies for the club. They welcome guests, and particularly something I want to point out about sergeant at arms, particularly if somebody wanders in late and stands at the door looking awkward, the sergeant at arms can jump up, run over. Oh, hi, so glad you made it. Come sit over here. Get them either seated next to sergeant at arms or seated next to the vice president membership, somewhere where they'll be comfortable. That 10 seconds of a person welcoming the guest can make all the difference in their sense of belonging and sense that they made the right decision to come to the club. That would be an opportunity to increase your service. You welcome the presiding officer at the beginning of the meeting. The first voice heard is the sergeant at arms. And there are sergeant at arms who really take that on and decide, you know, every time I'm up there, I'm going to make it something special. And they have a little something to say about the president, or they have just very short, right? Short, but they just have something special for the club as they're welcoming that presiding officer. The sergeant at arms is the one who watches the time. So bang, when it's the time, sergeant at arms pops up. They set up and clean up. So now the next step is to look for opportunities to increase service as the secretary or the sergeant at arms. So what thoughts do you have of things that either of these roles could do that would enhance the club? Oh, a guest book. Great idea. Great idea. Maintain a guest book. And set up the computer as this was set up for me. It was my not having the slides in the background set up, but the computer had already been set up for me, which I appreciated. And strengthen active listening skills as part of service. That's wonderful. Sergeant at Arms arrives early, make sure the room is set up, and start the meeting on time. Very nice. Thank you. I appreciate you, the participation in our chat. And do feel free, if it's your office, to go ahead and peruse the chat, take a look at what people are saying. Next, our last letter of RISE is excellence, E for excellence. The president and vice president of education need to be stepping up into that idea of excellence. I thought this was kind of a cool picture where it's pointed north and it's pointed really dead north. North just doesn't happen to be straight up right there. But I like the picture. What is the president responsible for? Let's do that first. The president and or presiding officer of the day, but generally it is the president, opens and closes the meeting. You set the tone for the club. In my opinion, that's a major responsibility of the president, is to have a club that is fun, that is achieving educationals, that is having members feel welcome and safe and part of a family. That's what the president does. Then they support the officer team in particular, so that if any officer, maybe it's a new officer, they haven't done that before, the president can help them. Hold club council meetings, might be monthly, might be every other month, so that the officers get a chance to talk with each other and make reports. It's a good leadership practice, how to do that. And then the president attends the division council meeting with the area director. Next, the vice president of education is responsible for setting up the agenda. Everybody knows that's a big job for the vice president of education. Clubs use different methods to do that, but bottom line has to be done, and the vice president of education is who everybody turns to make sure it is done. Also, to train and mentor members, the vice president of education should feel free, especially in a bigger club, to have a mentor assistant or mentor manager or mentor, give them a name, mentor captain. And that person can be matching up guests and new members with members of the club to help them with their development. It is under the vice president of education, but in my experience, the vice president of education can get a little bit overwhelmed. So if you have an opportunity to have some helpers, that's a great way for them to learn about the role of vice president of education also. You are one of the pathways approval people. Keep an eye on that. And I would recommend that you tell the members, when you complete something in pathways, send me a text. You should be getting something from Toastmasters, but I think a little text from the member can give them an opportunity to celebrate as well. You also are invited to the division council meeting, or sorry, the area council meeting, and monitor the distinguished club program. Once or twice during your term, you probably want to get up front, show the DCP page off of the Toastmaster website, and cover the game of the DCP with the club, so everybody knows what it is. I would do it early and then about mid-period, and then nearing the end, what still remains to be done. So that is the vice president of education. All right, what are opportunities to increase excellence as the president or the vice president of education? Please use your chat. Oh, terrific. So Ann Hill makes the point that the president is the one who sends the vote to international. And often the president will ask the club who they want to vote for various offices. And it can also be the secretary who does that. And usually most clubs simply defer to one of the top three who are going to be in person there and may give them direction how to vote, but may just say, vote your best sense, having talked to the candidates. Let's see, pathways. Encourage people to speak and present educational awards at the meetings. That's a wonderful way to increase excellence, Gail. Thank you for that. And somebody's got key lime pies coming to the meeting. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Membership liaison. Oh, I like that term. Thank you, John. That's a good one. And the vice president of education puts new members into the free toast host. That's a good point. So we make sure that the free toast host is aligned with Toastmasters International in terms of the names. And also to clean that up occasionally, if you have folks leave, so you don't have a ever increasing list, you can move people to past member, former member. The motivator and cheerleader, encourage self and member growth. I love that. Angelina, thank you for that. All right, moving to our next slide. So now we've seen all 4 of the wonderful core values, and we've related them to our 7 officer positions. My request to you is to create special opportunities to use RISE to stimulate, to have fun with club members, to have a hat day, to do some other things that encourage them to come to the meetings and to have them get the most out of Toastmasters. There's a saying that is attributed to Helen Blanchard: to get the most out of Toastmasters, you never get out of Toastmasters. That's from Helen Blanchard, the first female president of Toastmasters International. And thank you for the green. I am not on the red, Carolyn, woohoo! So I'm in the green and we have an opportunity for questions. I have a cute little slide for questions. So any questions you might have about officer roles or core values, put them in the chat. And Greg Morrow, are you available to maybe read some questions from the chat?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. And so you'll read them and then I'll do my best to answer or defer to someone else.
You got it. Still waiting on the question.
Yeah, they have to
So-
think about.
No problem. If you have any questions, just drop them in the chat box and I will read them as quick and we'll get to as many as we can.
Very good.
All right. A question from our distinguished district director, Debbie Allman, is who is the most important officer on the team?
When Wayne Schote would do officer installation, as he got to each officer, he would hand them the gavel and say, you hold the most important office in the club. And he would tell them why. And I agree with Wayne, everyone is the most important. And why is that? Because working as a team, an integrated team, is how we're most effective, and we rise in that hot air balloon and take our club to great heights.
Here's a really good question in the chat box that I've dealt with is how can the IPP immediate past president help?
For one thing, usually the person who's president has not done that before. So it's really nice to have a buddy they can call. So the immediate past president wants to make themselves available. Also, they are the quiet 8th member of the team, should be invited to officer meetings that you have, club meetings. And they may want a role. For example, perhaps they're the pathways trainer, or they could be that person who welcomes guests, who sits near the door and welcomes guests when they come in. It is good to have a role for the immediate past president.
All right. Roxy asks if an officer says an officer is ill and not attending meetings, should they replace the officer or divide up the duties?
I love that. I love that. I think that is dependent on the club and dependent on whether that person feels they will eventually come back or not, and ask the person, is this too much stress to have a club office right now? Do you want to have us replace you and have a vote with your permission? Or do they need just 2 months to recover and bring their baby to the next meeting after the 2 months, for example? In which case you may want to rotate taking that role, or if it's vice president public relations, maybe the vice president membership can do both roles for a little bit. But I would start with asking the person what they want. If they're out of touch, I've had people move and you don't even know, right? And you're at in-person meeting. So eventually, if they don't come and they don't talk to you, then as the president, you will need to replace them.
All right, we got several more questions here. One of them is, let's see if I can get to the next question. Suggestions for first-time presidents to build a group and turn it into a team. That's from Christopher.
Yep, very good. Yep.
So there's so what would
So
be
you
some
could do,
suggestions?
so here's an opportunity for Rising, right? Which would be for the president to have a fun day when everybody can attend, might be a Saturday or something, and they all go to the beach and play together. You see this in movies. Top Gun just had a movie about that, where everybody went to the beach and bonded playing volleyball. So why not grab an opportunity like that if members are willing? Now, the brand new Parliamentarian Toastmasters Club, we have people from every division. We're not meeting at the beach, so we'll have to be even more creative to do something fun together. But there are unlimited possibilities.
Okay,
So how
next.
did, yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just reading this. How does the club officer handbook help? And this will be our last question. The club officer handbook helps in 2 ways. One, you read it at the beginning of your term to find out what the heck you're supposed to do. We went through some of the duties together here today. And honestly, we probably hit 90% of what you do in your role, but there are a lot of little sub pieces, a lot of little things you can do, and you can get ideas for increasing excellence from the handbook. The second way you use it is if you get stuck on something, you go, oh, I thought we were supposed to send in some report, but I don't know what it is. I don't know how to find that out. Open the handbook, boom, there it is right there. So it's a wonderful resource if you do get stuck. My friends, thank you so much. I so appreciate you bringing me into your homes, offices, beaches, in order to share some information about club offices, club officer positions, and also that you have a sense now of the core values of Toastmasters and how they absolutely help us to be fantastic officers. Back to you, Gail.
Thank you, Katie. That was wonderful. I learned some things from your presentation today, even though I'm an officer in 2 clubs. Wonderful. Thank you
so
for
much.
sharing that wonderful presentation
All right.
and tying it into the core values. That was a wonderful way to describe the roles. We will now take a brief break. Do we still have time for 5 minutes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. We will take a break for 5 minutes. We will return with more fabulous training at 6:53 Pacific time.
Look at
For
that.
those of you who might not, 6:53, time to return to your listening and engagement mode for our training this evening. Our next speaker, Darnell, has been a Toastmaster for 22 years. He has held numerous leadership positions at the club, area, division, and district level, including area governor, district director, club coach, and newsletter editor. Darnell has received numerous honors for his leadership, including the Congressional Award, Toastmasters President Distinguished Division Director, and Area Governor Award, Toastmasters Spark Plug of the Year Award in 2014, National AIM IRS Meritorious EEO Award in 2013. Please join me in welcoming District 33's Club Growth Director-elect, Distinguished Toastmaster Darnell Evans, with his speech entitled Building a Healthy Team.
Thank you, Gail. That was an impressive introduction. Great job. Earlier today, Katie did a phenomenal job explaining how individually each office could make a difference in the success of a team. So I'm gonna piggyback on what Katie touched on, but elaborate. But this time, you're gonna not work individually. Your 7 core leaders are gonna work as a team to make a difference within your team. Building a healthy team. Okay, first, I'm going to talk about the objectives of this session. The first one is we're going to identify the 5 traits of a healthy team. Next, we're going to analyze your team's current state and use the analysis to develop a plan to improve. Next, we're going to identify the behavior styles of each team member. And then we're going to create a healthy team by building trust. Let's talk about those 5 traits of a healthy team. First trait is trust. We're going to talk about the trust factor. Next, healthy conflict. We're all familiar with that, whether we've had conflicts at work, part of the team, or we had conflict within our clubs. Commitment. We're going to talk about the impact that makes in a healthy club. Accountability. I think we've all heard of that. And then we're going to talk about results. First, let's talk about trust. Teams need to develop trust among members. How do we develop that trust among members? One way is making sure we know each member, making sure you're having those conversations with your members, finding out what their goals are, and working with them and being very transparent. Next, when trust is built, what happens when trust is built? When trust is built, you also gain trust. You also gain respect. And you also gain commitment. And the best way to build trust, like I said earlier, being transparent, being honest, and working as a team. Let's talk about healthy conflict. There are 2 types of conflict, destructive, and what does destructive mean? Is anybody in construction? Construction means tear down, right? When you destruct something, you're tearing it down. And then there's constructive. What is constructive? Build up. You're building up. So remember those phrases. A destructive conflict occurs when a team member engages in actions and behaviors that result in antagonism instead of resolution. How many times we've seen this when we're sitting in, especially as leaders, when you're sitting in executive board meetings, and you have someone that's constantly telling you, oh, we can't do that. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Oh, why are we doing that? That didn't work before. This worked, things like that. They're being very antagonistic. How many times have we seen that? That's a destructive conflict, when you have someone that's just not willing to play as part of the team. Constructive conflict occurs when team members express disagreements without hostility and with the commitment to effective resolution. This is an individual that's building up the leader. They're looking at it, they're saying, okay, we understand what you're trying to say. Now let's sit down and come up with a plan that we all can agree on to implement that phase. Then maybe that will get us that big P, President Distinguished. How many times we've seen that? I can tell you, I've seen it. I've just seen it recently. What club leaders can do to encourage a healthy conflict on their team? One, ensure that the necessary trust exists on the team. How do we ensure that? We need to make sure the core 7 is working as a team. Make sure you're meeting with your core, meeting together, all 7 of you, making decisions. And when you go to your club meeting, you're going as a unit. No one wants to go to a meeting where they're seeing the president and the vice president fighting all the time. No one wants to see that, where the secretary don't have minutes, or where they don't know if they got 5 cents in the treasury. No one wants to be a part of that. No one wants their integrity questioned either. So this is where you meet an executive team and sit down and have those conversations and leave that meeting as a united front and share information with your members. Remind the team of the reasons why the issues is being discussed in the matter. When an issue arises, and as the president, this is pretty much your role. You're going to bring the issue to your 6 remaining members of the executive committee. Just don't tell them Clarice stole the money and we don't know where the money is. We just don't tell that. You tell the reason why you're having the meeting. Or we're having a meeting today and Clarice is the treasurer and apparently her report did not match the report that we had previously. We have some concerns about the money. So we would like to look at it and decide if we want to have an auditor come and look at our books. Maybe they may be a miscount somewhere, or we may have punched a 0 or a 9. You want to explain. You always want to be transparent. You don't ever want to leave information to the person's imagination. What happens? They'll take that information and tell somebody else, and it never looks good when it goes that way. So always look at being transparent. Explain what the issue is of the matter that you're going to be discussing. If you feel that someone's opinion is not being heard, directly ask them to share it. How many times you've been in a meeting where you have 7 people sitting there and 4 people participating, and you got 2 just sitting there with rolling their eyes, counting their fingers, and not saying anything when you're having a very serious discussion? At that point, as the president, you would look and say, hey, Gail, we're discussing something that's pretty important. Let us know what you think of this. I want to hear your opinion. Or either go, hey, Greg, I know you have some knowledge on IT. Come on, why don't you share a little bit of what you know that maybe help us make a decision much quicker? So if you see someone, so make sure everyone is sharing information or participating. When a team member engages in a healthy conflict, praise them for it. It's not going to hurt to say, thank you, Carolyn, for bringing that to our attention. Thank you, Katie, for leading that discussion. Or thank you, Lucy, for taking the notes. We definitely appreciate it. Make sure we praise them for what they do. Nobody wants to spend a year doing something and not get anything in return. Trust me, no one. Let's talk about commitment now. There are 2 aspects to obtain full commitment from team members. 1, buy-in. You want to make sure everyone buys in. Why is that important? Like I said before, you got 7 people in a meeting. If we don't have all 7 buy-ins, what's going to happen? That person who didn't buy in at that executive meeting, they're going to go to the other members. And guess what? They're not going to share positive information. And what happens when we as members, expecting our leaders to take care of business, don't take care of business? They exit stage one. Nobody wants to be a part of any conflict. And that's, as a leader of a team, you don't want them to be as conflict. You're kind of like a parent. I always tell people a leader is like a parent. The clock don't stop after 8 hours. You want to make sure, just like you make sure your child don't know everything that's going on in the house. You want to keep a child in child's play. Same as your members. They don't need to know everything that's going on behind the scenes. You just want to share with them what's important that they need to know. And clarity. Make sure while you're having that meeting that there's clarity. Sometimes the secretary, whenever those, I think Katie mentioned parliamentarian. Sometimes in parliament, what a parliamentarian does is when the parliament in the parliamentarian class, when the president states a motion, when the president reads the motion back, the motion is read for clarity. For example, Gail may make a motion, Carice may second it. When the president repeats the motion and say, well, Gail motioned that we take $10 to spend on flowers, and it was seconded by Clarice, all in favor. And why do they do that? To make sure it's clarity. So ask your secretary sometimes, whenever there's action items that's discussed in your meeting. Hey, Madam Secretary, could you read back what we voted on to do? To make sure everybody's on the same page. It's so important that everyone is on the same page. A club leader can increase team commitment by, first, making sure all club officers are clear about their responsibilities. Katie just covered the responsibilities. I hope everyone's clear. Everyone know what they're responsible for. It's so important. You hate for someone to spend 12 months in a position and not know what they were supposed to do. You want to make sure that at the beginning that they're clear about their responsibilities. And by doing that, sometimes just have someone give a little educational on each position in the club. It may be beneficial to the officer and is also beneficial to the members because they'll know when the next year comes around, something that they'll know the responsibilities of the position and see if they can do those positions. Second, complete a club success plan and communicate it to all members of the club executive team. Yes, I recommend what we do in our club at the end of the year, at our last executive board meeting, we meet with the incoming and the outgoing, and we spend that meeting preparing the succession plan together. We want to make sure that the incoming people know the history and know what's going on and have some benchmark, and that they're in the old and the outgoing officers are able to share some pitfalls, some things that went well and some things that didn't. So you want to make sure that's done together so that everyone has some input in that. Because you don't ever want no one to know that they don't have the reason behind the reason why you came up with that plan. Next, let's talk about accountability. When team members are truly committed, it is much easier for the team to embrace accountability. You see the finger pointing. That's something I hate. I hate finger pointing. The appropriate behavior needs to be modeled by the team leader, and that's the president. You set the tone. You always set the tone of every meeting. If you come in there unprepared, trust me, the meeting is not going to be ran correctly. By communicating team decisions. Once the executive committee has made those decisions, then during the business part of your Toastmaster meeting, this is where the president communicates those decisions. And 99% of the time, you won't hear a remark from the executive committee. If anyone have any questions, it normally comes from the members. The executive committee will be in full support and will let the president speak to whatever questions the members have. Let's talk about results. In order for the team to be truly successful, the members need to eliminate self-interest. We want to take ourselves out of it because it's not about us. We're talking team now. We're doing things for the team. We want to focus on the needs to help the team's results, which build off of individual results. So we want to focus on those things, such as the dashboard. If we look at the dashboard and we see that, like Debbie mentioned, when she gave her example about tennis, you know, sometimes you're that short, and all of a sudden you got that coach. I mean, I played tennis too. You got that coach in your ear who've been watching the match and tell you, hey, Darnell, that Debbie, her backhand is weak. Go for that backhand. And so all of a sudden, Darnell gonna be hitting that backhand. And guess what? Darnell, the game would turn around because someone helped Darnell, his coach helped him win that match. And that's the same thing with the team. Sometimes if you're not getting those results, it's not gonna hurt to pick up a phone and say, well, hey, President, we're one member short. Why don't we contact our area director? Maybe they can help us get that one member. That one member can be the key to everything. That one member, like someone said, what do we do with the media past president? The media past president serves as a parliamentarian. They have history. They're that second hand to the president. Whenever somebody else don't do anything, guess who the president assigned it to? The media past. That's what the media past job is, to support the new leader. Like Clarice is Debbie's. When Debbie needs somebody to do something and she can't get them done, she go to Clarice for advice. And that's what they're there. Two heads is always better than one. All members need to be explicitly clear on what the team goals are and what they must do to accomplish them. This is something we do in our club as the president, doing midterms. We go over our commitments to the dashboard. We go over where we're standing. We look at, okay, our educationals, we show it here. What are we going to do to get our educationals caught up? And we come up with a plan there. And then we look at where we can move our strengths. This year, we were able to work on our educationals and got them completed by mid-year. But we saw we were short of those 8 new members. Guess where all 7 resources went? You're right. We went right to the vice president of membership. We worked with her. We came up with a strategy to get those 8 members to make sure we saw that president distinguished by our goal date of April the 1st. Those are things you do. Make sure they're clear on what the team goals are. We don't just say it at the beginning of the year. Remind them, repetitiveness. Remind them of those goals. Results. We have tools available to help the club's team focus on results. One of them is the club succession plan. You don't put that together for no reason. Pull it out periodically to look at it, to measure it as a benchmark where you're at, to see if you're meeting those goals in that club success plan. If not, do a pivot back, get back on track. Distinguished performance report, which we call the dashboard. That's a very big indication. That's a very big indicator. A lot of people think that's for the division director, that's for the district director. No, that's for the club also. Look at that report. Show your members the report. Have a meeting where you go over that report with the members and show them where their part is. When people feel that they invest in something, trust me, you'll get a total result. You'll get a total different result. I remember one time I was at a meeting and we were about, I think it was last year when I was the vice president of membership a couple of years ago. I was at a meeting and I mentioned to the members, I said, well, we're 1 member short of meeting our membership goal. And then we had a visitor there that said, I'll join right there. She raised her hand to join. That's why it's so important. Don't sit there and hide anything. Be transparent. Let them know if there's a problem. You got somebody in there that's going to definitely help you. Trust me on that. and then membership building programs. We have a lot of membership building programs. We have the Beat the Clock, and we have other ones. Utilize those. Have fun with them. Make plans, share them with your members, and have a good time with them to help you build membership. Thank you.
Thank you, Darnell. That was wonderful. It's a wonderful reminder that it really is a team effort between the officers of a club in order to create the success of the club, whether that's membership or being a distinguished club. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. We now have an opportunity to learn by exploring club successes and challenges that have been faced by officers within our Toastmasters district. To lead us in this discussion this evening, our panel moderator is Clarice Kresser. Clarice has been a Toastmaster for 8.5 years. Throughout her Toastmasters journey, she has taken advantage of all the learning and growth opportunities Toastmasters offers within the club and outside the club. She has served in all club officer roles. She continues to enthusiastically serve in any capacity where she is able to support the club and district missions. Please join me in welcoming our panel moderator this evening, distinguished Toastmaster and immediate past district director, Clarice Kresser.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Toastmaster, for that very generous and very warm introduction. And good evening, my fellow District 33 members and fellow Toastmasters. It is my honor this evening to serve as your moderator for this session. Our moderator, our panelists are all esteemed Toastmasters, and I have had the honor and privilege of being able to serve with them in various leadership roles. And what a wonderful panelist we have for you this evening. Our panelists this evening will cover 3 main topic themes. And all of these topic themes tie very nicely to your new role as a club officer for the next Toastmaster year. Now, before I introduce them, I'd like to share with you what those topics will be and who the respective panelists will be to cover the respective topic areas. So this is a time I'd like to see everyone, you're all going to be sponges, absorb all the information and take plenty of notes, and also listen very carefully, because what our esteemed and expert panelists will share with you will cover 3 main areas that will be important for you as a club officer and also for your club to be able to achieve its club mission and to be successful and contribute to the district mission. Our first theme will be on membership building and club officer succession. And that will be covered by Michelle Reed. Our second theme and topic will be building strong teams and building upon what we heard earlier from Darnell. The third area will have to do with running quality meetings. And that will be led by Tim Mullins. And building strong teams will be by Ryan Boitella. So I'd like to, we have our panelists here, and I'd like to see we have Ryan. All right, so maybe, Ryan is up on the top. So maybe, okay. Oh, now look at this. We're the foursome here. Okay. So as a for formatting, I'd like to ask each of the panelists, I'll be asking them 2 questions related to their selected theme. They will have 2 to 3 minutes. This is table topics on steroids, okay? For you to respond to your 2 questions on your specialized theme. The third question will be the same for all of you. And it's to ask you, what are your successes and some takeaways, and I will ask you all that same question. So before I start, I'll introduce each panelist and then ask your questions. But I'd like to first make sure, do you all, Michelle, Ryan, and Tim, can you see the timer, our timer, Carolyn, on the top left of your screen? Okay, that would be very important. 2 to 3 minutes for each of your responses. You will have 3 questions each. And our audience, if you have questions, please put them in the chat box and we will address them at the tail end of our session, which will end probably, I'm going to try to end this at around 7:45 so that we leave some time for questions, or at least close to that as much as we can. All right. So our first panelist will cover membership building and club officer succession, and that will be Michelle Reed. Now, Michelle is currently the Division C director, and she served as an Area C1 director for 21-22. She has extensive experience as a club officer and has had successes in this area of membership building and club officer succession. So Michelle, my first question to you is, how would you ask for a frequently visiting guest to become a club member?
Good evening, Madam Past District Director Grace Cresser. It's always a pleasure to see you. Welcome, everybody. We've often had returning guests come to our meetings, and I think one of the things that works really well is when you already have a well-planned meeting, you have your 1 or 2 speakers, your table topic sessions, and everybody's having a good time. Just having a regular Toastmasters meeting will encourage a guest to want to return. And we also, like I'm sure everyone else does, welcome the guests and make them feel comfortable. We invite them to take a table topics question, to give them a little taste of what it is to be like a Toastmasters. Sometimes this can be a very scary thing for people, especially if they have a fear of public speaking. So we let them either accept the table topics question or say, yes, I'm not ready yet, maybe next time. And oftentimes they surprise themselves. They usually answer the question very well. Even if they're shaking, they feel really proud of themselves. So when a guest will visit, and again, we ask them, what did you think of the meeting at the end? What do you see here that could help you in your life? Do you see that it could help you? And oftentimes they'll say something like, oh, so-and-so recommended that I come to this meeting, my boss, a pastor, my college professor, or I've always just wanted to become a better communicator. And then taking that little table topics question gives them a taste, and they see the support that we offer our members and the guests. So that makes the environment seem safe and encouraging. So when a guest will keep returning, we'll often say, well, it's so nice to see you again. You know, would you like to take on a little role next week? Perhaps humorist. And we're surprised when they take on that, and they do come back because they want to have to tell that joke. And then we give them the membership application and say, we would love to have you become a member. And then you can start with pathways and really see your growth. That's what's worked for us in the past, but usually it's when we've had a great meeting and they see that enthusiasm, and that's what they want to be a part of. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Invite those guests. When I was first visiting, I thought I had to be sort of interviewed before I could join. So if you have somebody like that, make sure that they know that they're welcome to join. They don't have to pass a test. That's what works for us in our clubs.
Great.
Madam Grace.
Thank you, Michelle. So here's the second question, and this one is related to club officer succession. How would you promote the club officer positions to members so that they would want to serve as a club officer?
That's a great question. Thank you for that question. What we have done in the past, which I think has been really helpful, is having each one of the club officers stand up in one of the meetings and give a little taste of what their role is and what they do and what they've learned that year. And hearing somebody's story, because oftentimes when people are brand new members or have never been an officer, they don't see themselves in a leadership position. They need a little bit of encouragement. They need that pathway ahead of them. Oh, well, so-and-so did it and they didn't think they could do it, but yet they learned so much and they enjoyed it. Maybe I would like that too. And that's what sort of brought me into my role as first secretary when I was a new member. Okay, that's easy. I could stay in the background and do this role. And don't forget, your other members who encourage you, they suggest you, they recommend you, that also adds some confidence. And yes, I think one of my clubs, we have a few people that we've been trying to get to be officers, but the timing is not right. They're either too busy with other commitments. And then you have some new members that are super gung-ho. And so I think as members, we need to be aware that some people are waiting to be asked and others will just jump right for the chance. So letting them know what the officer role is like, what you need to do, such as officer training, time commitments, it gives them an awareness of what they're getting into. And also, I think a lot of people need that little push. Go for it, you can do it. And when I see some of our newest members taking on even simple roles in the meeting and then seeing their confidence grow, just imagine what their confidence will be like when they take on an officer role. That's what I suggest. In the past, we've also had our mentors reach out to different people in the club, and then they can also act as a mentor behind the scenes with that role. So if you ever need any help, I can help you. I can answer questions. Just like I think Katie Porter mentioned, your past president is there to help you. You know, if you ever have a question, you can go ask somebody. And another thing that I think a lot of people forget is that anybody can attend those club officer trainings. You don't have to be club officer. Any member is welcome. And no matter who you are, you'll always learn something. So I always tell all the members, you're welcome to attend, even if you're not an officer. And that often will ignite a little interest in becoming officer someday. Madam Facilitator.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle. I think what we're going to do for the third question for each of you is we'll keep it to 1 to 2 minutes and then keep the focus of the golden nugget on your responses to 2 to 3. So Michelle, for the last question, in terms of a success story and best practice, can you share, say a favorite takeaway that you've learned, lessons learned, some key strategy that has worked for your club in the area of, you pick one, either succession, club officer succession, or membership building?
Oh gosh, I had too many. I'm sorry. I was gonna run off a whole list. As division director, one of my biggest takeaways was my team. I'm really proud of the team that we had and how well they worked together, and seeing the clubs in our area start to achieve distinguished status or better. Yes, that's my biggest takeaway. I'm really proud of the team, and I'm looking forward to the new officer teams this coming year in each of the clubs that I'm in too. So I think one of the biggest things, I just went to a meeting last night, and I'm going to do a little shout out for Moore Park Toastmasters. They are going to be distinguished this year, and I'm so proud of them. You know, they added a lot of new members, and they didn't know that they had to submit, you know, the path, and then it's Club Central. Anyways, I think they could even become select distinguished. So I don't know why I'm so happy, but that just makes me really proud. And I'm just looking forward to all the clubs in Division C and District 33 reaching the best possible distinguished product that they can reach. Madam District Facilitator, wonderful predecessor.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I wish we had actually more time, but thank you so much for sharing your golden nuggets related to membership building and club officer succession. Now, our second theme is related to building strong teams. And our panelist for this topic is Ryan Voitela. Ryan is a dynamic leadership level 4 and motivational strategies level 3. He is also currently the Division B director and has served as the Area B3 director last year in 21-22. So Ryan, your topic is on building strong teams. My first question to you is, tell us how your club team is successful and what are the strengths of that team that worked for you?
Absolutely, Clarice. In order for a team to be successful, the team's members must first identify a goal they'd like to achieve. In the context of the officers of a Toastmasters club, that goal is usually to achieve President's Distinguished status in a Distinguished Club program. How each club goes about achieving that goal, however, is what sets clubs apart. It's critically important for each team of club officers to identify what is uniquely strong about their club so they can leverage those strengths in support of the President's Distinguished goal. To give you an example of how different clubs go about working towards the same goal differently, I'll describe the tactical differences between two clubs of which I'm a member. First, I'll talk about my home club, Point Mugu Toastmasters. Point Mugu Toastmasters aims to serve the personnel working at Naval Air Station Point Mugu. These are typically scientists and engineers without much speaking experience who might be drawn to Toastmasters in order to learn how to give better presentations or to perform better during job interviews. The way Point Mugu Toastmasters strives for its goal of President's Distinguished is by serving the employees of the base and addressing their needs. To enhance accessibility, hybrid meetings are regularly held on base and lunch to accommodate both those working on base and who might be teleworking at home. Additionally, since we're catering to people who are unfamiliar with Toastmasters, it's part of our meeting structure to go through and explain in detail each of the functionary roles right at the start of the meeting to ensure everyone is on the same page regardless of their skill level. In contrast to Point Mugu Toastmasters leaning towards beginners, I'm also a member of Menu Masters, a fun club whose theme is enjoying fine food and drink. While Point Mugu Toastmasters is meant to be a club populated by novice Toastmasters in a specific geographic area, Menu Masters is geared toward those all over the world who are already Toastmasters and are drawn to the challenge of belonging to another club to supplement their Toastmasters experience. As such, Menu Masters regularly meets online with occasional hybrid meetings, and they meet relatively infrequently, only once a month, to accommodate its members' busy Toastmasters schedules. It's also not for the faint of heart. It's not only our members giving a speech, their speeches are cooking segments with all sorts of associated camera, lighting, and blocking challenges. While the club officer team of Point Mugu Toastmasters works toward achieving their goal of becoming President's Distinguished by making themselves physically available and technically accessible, the club officer team of Menu Masters aims to accomplish the very same goal by completely opposite means, making themselves virtually accessible while presenting a tantalizing technical challenge. A successful club officer team is able to identify the unique strengths of their club and capitalize on those strengths in order to achieve their goal of becoming President's Distinguished. Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan, for that response and lots of golden nuggets for that one. Now, my second question pertains to, and it is, what are the various ways for club officer teams to work together and to be on the same page?
Thank you, Clarice. The success of a team is directly correlated with how regularly and how effectively the team's members communicate. It's not enough to just communicate regularly or to just communicate effectively. Communicating regularly without any kind of formal direction or plan leads to a lot of words being said, but usually not a whole lot of value being extracted from those words. Some members of a team may speak at length about what's on their mind, which, while valuable, may or may not be particularly relevant to the issues the team is tasked with addressing at the present moment. Other members may become disengaged because no point to holding the club officer meetings in the first place had ever been formally established. On the other hand, communicating effectively with well-defined goals, objectives, agendas, and action items, but doing so irregularly and/or infrequently creates distance between the members of the team. Regular and frequent communication between team members is necessary to develop a team culture and sense of cohesion that drives strong teams. Regular meetings provide a natural conduit through which ideas are shared and relationships are fostered, both things that are required to have a successful team. Regular meetings also serve as a mechanism for holding the members of the team accountable for the tasks they've agreed to complete, which reduces the chances that things are forgotten or fall through the cracks. As Vice President of Education for Influential You Toastmasters, I've been able to practice both regular and effective communication with the president of that club, Josh D'Amigo. At the beginning of the Toastmasters year, we identified a plan for the year to be President's Distinguished. Then we established our strategy for completing our plan, ethics for guiding our behavior while working through our strategy, and tactics that outlined what we would do in pursuit of our strategy. Among our tactics was to have a half-hour bi-weekly meeting, a short one, where we would revisit our plan, strategy, ethics, and tactics while addressing any club business that needed to be taken care of, such as scheduling, dues, officer training, and the like. At the end of our meeting, we would define each other's action items to be completed by the next meeting. By creating a structure to guide our meetings and by having them regularly, we had established a means of having both effective and regular communication. As a result, things rarely fall through the cracks. Our members were alerted to happenings in the district, such as contests and officer trainings. Our schedule was always filled up ahead of time, and administrative things like dues were taken care of in a timely manner. The best way to ensure your club officer team is successful and stays on the same page is to have regular and structured meetings where the team members are held accountable for helping their club succeed. Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan. Now, for this last question on the success story and best practice, I actually encourage you to take your experience also, not only as a club officer, but as a current Division B director and also Division B director-elect for next year. Now, what's a success story or a favorite takeaway or something that you'd like to share with others that can use this related as it relates to building strong teams? Our best practice.
Yes, and it builds on what I've just talked about. The success story I immediately think of is how my area directors rallied to put on their area contests after we struggled to identify contest chairs in time. I leveraged the energy, commitment, and sense of duty my area directors possess by deputizing them as joint contest chairs. The B1 and B3 directors teamed up to put together their area contests, and the B2 and B4 directors teamed up to put on theirs. We outlined everything that needed to be done to put on a contest, and we scheduled when all those things would be completed on a week-by-week basis. We then had weekly meetings where we discuss how our tasks scheduled for the previous week had gone and what needed to be done before the next meeting. Through thorough planning and open, structured, and regular communication, we, none of whom had had experience putting on contests, by the way, were able to put on contests for each area in the division while following an extremely aggressive timeline. It is this circumstance that showed me just how powerful a force detailed planning and regular meetings can be. And I know I'll be making extensive use of both of those concepts in my leadership roles during the next Toastmasters year. Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan. A lot of golden nuggets that's not only applicable for division or district director or district leadership positions, but also applicable certainly at the club officer level. So thank you so much. Our third theme covers running quality meetings, the bread and butter of what we are in Toastmasters and the heart of our club mission. And leading that theme, our moderator is Distinguished Toastmaster past District Director, Tim Mullins. Now, I've had the privilege of serving with Tim as when I was just a little Peasley area, no, not Peasley, starting off and my district leadership role as an area director and as a division director as well. So Tim, related to running quality meetings, what are some virtual icebreakers or activities that you see that you've had success in that we can use to increase member engagement to online meetings?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. COVID happened. Before that, Toastmasters International was not interested in having online meetings and holding online meetings. In-person meetings was it. When COVID happened, all of a sudden we were scrambling as people, as clubs, as members to try and figure out, where do we go from here? How do we keep what we have going? Well, of course, we then began to do regular online meetings with whatever form or whatever it was that we used to try and do those meetings. But then we came to hybrid meetings. Well, in order for people to feel engaged, oftentimes I've talked to people and they say, well, I'm not really interested in Zoom because I don't feel like I'm there. I don't feel the same way. I would suggest that for online meetings that you have perhaps something like a chat master, or maybe a toast chatter. And what you do is before the meeting, you make sure that the people that are online, they are dealt with, they are associated with the toast chatter or the chat master. That person talks to them in chat before the meeting to let them know, or ask them, how was your week? Perhaps it's a brand new guest that's never been in Toastmasters, or a guest that is from another club that is looking to join a second club. Now you're starting to ask them, hey, who are you? What's going on with you? That way there's some engagement rather than them just sitting there kind of looking off into the distance, wondering what's going on. I would suggest that you have a designated, what I'm going to call a chat master, or maybe a toast chatter, whatever you want to call it. That's the person who looks after those people that are online. Now, if it's a hybrid meeting, it's going to be probably less of a group that's going to be online, but there still needs to be a little bit of reaching out to them to draw them in to that meeting. And that's what I would suggest. I'm hoping that other people will put into chat things that have been successful for them and their club. Madam Moderator.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Tim. And yes, we have, if you could please put some of those ideas in the chat box so that others can also benefit from some ideas. Just put them in, and then you'll be able to save that transcript for future reference. Now, Tim, my second question to you related to running quality meetings is this. What are your recommendations regarding procedures to run meetings efficiently?
I am so happy that you asked me this question, because oftentimes, well, okay, I'm going to backtrack off of that. Sometimes you might go to a Toastmaster meeting and somebody gets up there and they go, okay, we need a speaker for this evening. We need an evaluator. We need this, we need that. That is unacceptable. To run an efficient meeting, you have to have an agenda, and you have to start talking to the people that are part of that agenda early. I make it an effort on my part when I'm going to be Toastmaster for the next meeting next week. Might even go around during that meeting before and after. And oh, by the way, you're an evaluator next week. Are you going to be here? Can you do that? Then I will follow up with an email or what have you to the different people that are part of that meeting, their roles, and I will ask or put it out there. Are you going to be there? If you're not going to be there, let me know so that we can find a replacement. And this is early on to where when you finally get to the meeting, it's running like clockwork. And that makes for an efficient and a quality meeting because everybody knows their job. They know what they're going to be doing, what they have to do. And you're not getting up there and looking kind of frustrated and maybe out of it by asking people, can you please do this? Can you please do that? I truly believe that Toastmasters is the organization to help us become better communicators and leaders. In order to do that more effectively for our members, we need to plan early and communicate often before that meeting starts. Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Now for your last question, 1 to 2 minutes, kind of like think of all the best strategies, key takeaways, your favorite success story, favorite tool, whatever it is related to running quality meetings. What would that be, Tim?
I have a sad story to tell, and I will try and condense it down as much as I can. When I was a new Toastmaster, I'd only been in Toastmasters maybe a year and a half or something like that, or 2 years. I visited Illinois, where my in-laws lived. And I visited a club somewhere in Illinois that shall remain unnamed. I attended that meeting. I was not greeted at the door. Nobody came up and shook my hand. Nobody asked me how I was doing. I was not called on to ask how I heard about them. I was not called on for table topics. I was not called on after the meeting to say, how did you enjoy the meeting? And I was completely ignored, and I walked out the door never having communicated with anybody in that meeting. That to me is unforgivable. That made an impact on me to let me know that when we go to those meetings and there is interaction, that is what a takeaway that we can, in my Camarillo club, we're good at that. And so that is something that I love about that club. And I think that if you have a club and you are not communicating with those guests, you are losing out. Hope that answered the question, but there you go.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much, Tim. Lots of golden nuggets, and I'm looking at the time, and we won't, I don't think we're going to have enough time to answer some of the questions, but I'm actually going to do this. We have like 3 minutes, and I'm going to take the initiative. I'm going to just pick one, and I'm going to be a little selfish a little bit because I know this is an issue in my clubs. So I'd like to ask 1 minute each, if you have something that you'd like to share in terms of what strategy have you seen or that has worked for you to get the younger group or a different group of people into your club? What strategy have you used? That's one of the questions in the chat box. So who would like to tackle that first? Like a minute.
I think somebody answered the question. They said, it's not that you want younger members, you want new members, because new members bring excitement. In one of my clubs, Mary Elaine has been very good about contacting people, and we have brought in some newer, younger members. But I think the key thing is that they're new members, they're excited about learning, and I think that's what each club really wants. You don't have to be young, you just need to be new and excited, enthusiastic.
Excellent, excellent. And I appreciate that correction and the point. Thank you so much, Michelle. Ryan.
I'm actually in the middle of doing this right now with my home club, Point Magoo Toastmasters. We've recently been able to move back onto base. And one of the things that I've been doing is using my connections within my environment to just get the word out. And we've been relatively successful in that, getting people to come visit, getting people to at least know about it so that maybe they'll come visit in the future. People invite their coworkers who I didn't contact to come and visit. Just getting the word out really is what I've seen to be successful, as obvious as that may sound.
Wonderful. Thank you. Tim.
I believe that one of the main factors that oftentimes gets overlooked is, yes, Toastmasters, we are serious about improving ourselves, but we don't have to be serious about improving ourselves. Our meetings need to be fun. If you have a fun, power-packed, educational, enthusiastic meeting, guests that come to that meeting will join. But we have to have the fun. And I think I'm gonna bottle that up. We need to be serious about Toastmasters, but we don't have to be serious about Toastmasters.
Great one, Tim. Well, this concludes the panelists, and I'd like to thank you. Thank you so much. What a wonderful panelists we've had this evening, Michelle, Ryan, and Tim. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your knowledge, your tools, everything. And I hope everyone in the audience in our Zoom room was able to take away something, at least one, to be able to apply it in their clubs. Now I return conduct to our Toastmaster, Gail Taylor-Smith.
Thank you, Clarice. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Ryan. What a wonderful panel discussion this evening. Debbie Allman, did you have something you would like to?
No, I
Okay.
couldn't lower, I can't lower my hand. Sorry, there we go.
Okay, you had your hand raised. I just wanted to make sure all was good. Well, I hope that everyone enjoyed our format this evening for our early bird officer training. I felt I learned a lot from the discussion that we had today. We had many great speakers. I am grateful that I had the opportunity to serve as your Toastmaster this evening. I now return the floor to our District 33 District Director-elect, Tan Pham.
Thank you, Gail Taylor-Smith. Everybody can unmute because now we're going to go through some recognition and thank the team for tonight. So first, I want to thank our Toastmaster of the evening, Gail Taylor-Smith. Great job. Our logistics manager and the Zoom tech for tonight, Greg Morrow. Greg, thank you. Our district and club and international Toastmasters International Club mission was read by Annie Hall.
Yay.
Thank you, Annie. Our keynote speaker, Rise to the Opportunity, past district governor, Katie Porter. The educational speech, Building a Healthy Team, distinguished Toastmaster Darnell Evans. Our moderators and the panelists, Clarice Kresser, Michelle Reed, Ryan Wojtyla, and Tim Mullins. Thank you for a great session where we can interact and learn from each other and learn from existing club leaders and past district leaders.
Woohoo!
We also have our timer, Caroline Moore. Thank you very much for keeping us on time. And finally, I wanted to thank our pledge, and I did not recognize her earlier this evening as Area Director for A5. Persuasive Influence, Level 5, Strategic Relations, Level 3, Denise Shepard. Denise, thank you so much for serving tonight as well. And finally, our two co-chairs, Roxy Patterson and Dr. Angelina Dickey. They help backbone these training sessions. So thank you very much to our co-chairs of the club officer training. In the chat message, I will add a short survey of the post training. So after tonight's training, I would ask that you can please, Greg Morrow, if you can insert in the Zoom link in the chat box, the shortcut for the online survey for everybody to take. I had a great time tonight being here with everybody for club officer training, and we've finished our acknowledgements. It is my honor to welcome back our current district director, Deborah A. Allman, as she has the final words and she will adjourn our meeting. Debbie?
That was very different, and I learned things. Did everybody else learn something?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna add one more thing that I found useful is find someone who has done this job well and ask them to mentor you. It's a special relationship of they will help you through, just even sometimes you need to vent and talk and not have it go anywhere else. And it just helps you keep going. But they might have ideas on, how to do the district incentives or how to do your success plan. So don't hesitate to find someone, maybe go through your area director and find someone to help you as a mentor. Great job, Tan Fan. Thank you so much. It's sad to think this is your last training, pretty much, or getting close.
We have district officer training coming up.
Well, very good. It was a wonderful year for you. You did a great job. Back to you, Mr.
Okay, thank you very much.
Program Quality Director. Yes.
Yes, thank you. I would want to say thank you very much, Deborah, for a great year. I will support you as Program Quality Director. Again, we want to finish strong. If you have if the club members here have any questions about any education or distinguished points, pathways, please contact me. We have Pathways office hours tomorrow evening. I will upload the file that has a lot of the links of the office hours, as well as upcoming club officer training. So that PowerPoint that I was displaying will be put into the chat box. And make sure everybody here will receive their club officer training credit. If you have used a different person's name, please make sure you rename yourself. And people that are on the phone, I will be contacting you via phone just to ensure I know who's that person on the other line of the phone. And that's how we will give everybody training credit. Any questions before we adjourn? We have a couple of minutes left.
Tan, this is Clarice. Could someone review how we will get the chat transcript? That was a question that came up previously. Or instructions on how to save it?
Yes, I think what we can do is we have the registration list, and we also have, after the Zoom meeting, we will have an attendance log. The attendance log is everybody here. So we will take the emails from all the attendance log, and that'll be used for club officer training credit. And then also we will, I'll ask Greg Morrow to send the chat log to the attendance log.
That's great.
All right.
Yeah, there were so many wonderful comments in the chat. I appreciate that Greg's gonna save it.
Okay.
So, yeah. So Runa, you're saying Hortensia was at your phone or on your online?
I'm making that note right now.
Good, okay. Yeah, she's Soul Speakers.
Right. All right, well, training is adjourned. Thank you very much. We can stop.
Nice
Thanks,
job.
y'all.